I'm calling to order the January 8th, 2024 Auburn Board of Selectmen meeting. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Board of Selectmen is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join this meeting remotely by telephone, you call 408-650-3123 with access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone in the audience recording as well? Seeing none, I would like to note that we do have one member participating remotely. I just want to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda participating remotely are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, can you please respond in the affirmative? Dan Carpenter?
I am here.
Steve Chambers?
Here.
Ann Kavanaugh?
Here.
Todd Corain?
Here.
Okay. I would also like to note that each vote that's being taken tonight will be a roll call vote. Can we stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have one person signed in for public comment. Ms. Fleming, would you like to speak? Could you please state your name and address?
I'm Pamela Fleming. I live at 7 Mount View Ave.
Thank you.
Good evening. I, Pamela Fleming of 7 Mount View Ave, am a retired registered nurse who suffers from a medical disability that makes everyday living difficult. I am back again to update the board on the ongoing problem I'm having with my neighbor at 8 Mount View Ave.
Excuse me.
Oh, is it not? You can't hear me?
Yeah.
I have previously reported this neighbor who is operating an unlicensed business across the street to me. His all-day and night activity with the noises, lights, and vehicle activity have severely impacted my quality of life. Since I last appeared here, he was issued a cease and desist order by the town on December 14th. His deadline to halt his activity has passed, but he continues doing what he does, which is to repair engines. I've spoken to Caleb Moody of the Code Enforcement Department about this and was told that he still sees no activity when he inspects the location. Despite my witnessing it and having pictures of it, he was unimpressed. I was then told by Caleb Moody, after he met with the neighbor, that the neighbor was going to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals and promised Caleb Moody that he would not conduct business until the ZBA meeting on February 15th. Mr. Moody called me and reflected this conversation. Caleb was not gone from this home that within 1.5 hours that he violated his promise to Caleb to stop fixing machines. So the cease and desist is not going to be enforced, only issued. I have to ask, what is the point of laws then? All I ask for is equal protection under the law. I would like to attend the future ZBA meeting, but have a prior commitment that will not let me even call in. More interestingly, I don't see the point of having the ZBA involved because my street is zoned for residential use only, and businesses are not even allowed to have a special permit to operate there. I don't know why this lawlessness is being allowed to continue and disturb my peace and the value of my home. Since my last appearance here on 11/27, I have been sworn at and gestured at from the neighbor and have received extreme number of no ID calls, 60 to this day, started as soon as I left here, as soon as I got home. I don't know who is calling it is a coincidence. I only pray to God that none of you have to suffer like I am, and I ask the Select Board members intervene and render any help you can give me. Thank you for your time. I will end by passing out a few pictures of the activity that I have taken. Since Thursday, with the impending storm, he has repaired approximately 35 snow blowers. He serves himself first, last, and always. Thank you again.
Thank you for the information. Is there anything we can do?
So, Madam Chair, I can tell you that I have been quite involved in this matter. What Ms. Fleming conveyed to you tonight, I can tell you is pretty accurate. When Ms. Fleming is called, and it's been on a number of occasions, we have responded as quickly as we could. I told Ms. Fleming our inspectors are not sitting at a desk twiddling their thumbs and waiting for calls to come in. They're out in the field doing inspections. So at a time when they're available, they're going by the house. At those times when they drove by the house, there was no evidence of any of the activity that Mrs. Fleming has conveyed to you. She said she had documented evidence on her Ring doorbell. I said, please provide that to us, because I'm sure that will be date stamped and documented, and that would provide evidence to us that, in fact, there is some activity ongoing there. I can tell you that we have drove by several times when Ms. Fleming is called. Ms. Fleming has seen the vehicles. She will admit to you she sees the vehicles going by, and at the time, there's no activity. We sent out a cease and desist after Mrs. Fleming provided a complaint to the town. That notice was delivered via registered mail. Subsequent to that, our building commissioner paid a visit to the home, indicated that there was documented evidence showing activity and that he would have to cease and desist. He said he would comply with the cease and desist order until such time his matter is heard before the ZBA. There is a process before the ZBA. The ZBA will make a determination of whether or not it belongs before their regulatory board, but there is a process and we have to respect that. I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be, but certainly I told Mrs. Fleming that the town is in no position to provide 24-hour surveillance of the activity at that place of residence. We are understaffed as it is. Our department head is aware of the situation, and she's in attendance tonight, and we've been following this pretty intensely since the complaint was filed.
Do board members have any questions or comments?
I have the invoices from the water department. They were quite extensive, and they went back 5 years of him repairing. Remember at last meeting, I had asked for the invoices. I have them with me, and that's one of the reasons why the town issued the cease and desist when they saw how much business was going on, because last time you didn't think there was a business there.
I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I thank you for your public comment. I think we need to wait for the ZBA to make the determination. I don't know that there's anything that we can do for you tonight. I wish there was more that we could do to help.
If somebody here's car was hit and I witnessed it, wouldn't my testimony to the police or whoever be justified? Why is my being a witness to this every day not justified? Like, I don't need somebody from the town to drive by at 10 miles an hour to verify what I'm saying. I have photos. I've done all the stuff that you've asked me to do. I have a hard time with it.
If I may, I think if there was further documented photographic evidence, time-stamped, we had a discussion with town council, that was evidence enough to issue the cease and desist. I think that would be enough, and I can't speak for the department head, but I think that would be enough for us to then begin to enforce the penalties for not abiding by the cease and desist.
Even with the really bad storm yesterday, he repaired snow blowers. I would never be outside. I hate the snow. So he repaired snow blowers all day long. And you can see the pictures. Obviously, it was snowing when he was back delivering. I mean, it never ends. Like, why would you be outside repairing engines? It's a never-ending problem. And I would really like your help.
I do understand that. I think we need to wait and see what happens with the ZBA. And we can look at this again.
But that's not until February 15th, so then it goes another month or so.
I understand. I don't know that there's anything that this board can do until that happens.
I think what we can continue to do is monitor the activity at that site. If you feel, I just don't understand why a call is placed, we go to check out the residents and there's no evidence of
I
activity. So
call Caleb, it's actually happening, so I monitor when he comes. He didn't come when I called, so by the time he's out delivering, like, he picks up and delivers, so he's fixing, repairing, putting it back on his truck, snow blower, the other ones go on the trailer. This is snow blowers, so they go on the truck. They go back on the truck and he delivers, and he comes back with another one. So there's an hour, if he's going out an hour out of town to go pick up, there's an hour there that he's not there. But it continues into the evening. He was repairing stuff the other night, again, at 5:30 in the dark. I'm like, how does he do it? He has very bright lights because he has them on his garage. But he was in the dark at 5:30 repairing things. I thought, that can't be. If I didn't hear the noise, I wouldn't have known. It's absolutely outrageous to me. And I need help. The town he's breaking the law.
Are you, I know you had mentioned, or Ed had mentioned, that you had Ring evidence from your video doorbell. Can you provide that to the town so they can enforce? Because without actually knowing that it does continue to go on after he was delivered the cease and desist, we would have to. So if you could provide that, perhaps
You
we
can
could.
see that these are repaired yesterday in the snowstorm. So
I understand.
it's current pictures. It's not like they were from 3 months ago.
I understand, but the pictures aren't date and time stamped, which is what I think.
Only
the
time
town-
it snowed, right?
Yes, I
That would give it
understand.
away. That would give it away.
I understand what you're saying. However, without a date and time stamp, I don't know that they can enforce the cease and desist.
I also don't believe those pictures show evidence of them working on anything. It shows potentially something in the back of the truck. I don't think anyone disagrees with you, but obviously that's not going to hold up in court. And if they're going to enforce any further penalties, they need to make sure everything's documented.
I'd seen the bulletin board that I dropped off. There's many, many pictures of him repairing, not just delivering and going in and out of the drive. It was 15, 20 of repairs alone.
So I
Don't
think
know
at
where
this
that
point,
bulletin board is, but it would have been nice to have it.
yep, I think at this point, we've established that there is a process. We're in the process. We're working through it. I think the town manager has said with the resources we have, they will continue to monitor and try to make sure that this isn't happening. But if obviously they're not going to sit out there for the entire time. So I think we have to let the process play out before we can do anything further. And even then, through the chair, enforcement of this, we've sent the cease and desist. What is the enforcement? Fines?
yes.
Who's to say that stops? And I don't know if your purview is you'd prefer him to be fined or stopped. And I think it sounds like stopped. But even if we were to issue fines, that doesn't mean it's going to stop. So we have to be able to provide that before we can initiate the fines. And then the ZBA has to do their process as well. So I think at this point, we do continue with that, and that more evidence you have. But again, pictures of a snowblower in the back of a pickup truck, that's not going to hold up in any court.
The other ones would, though. The other pictures I have would definitely. They're very good pictures. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to move along to presentations and public hearings. We have a public hearing for Patrick Motor Mart. that's doing business as Patrick Motors. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Is there someone here from Patrick Motors? Please come up. Is this a new license?
So this is a new license for Class 2
Okay,
dealership.
great. Do board members, are there any public comments? Seeing none, do board members have any comments? Questions? Okay, hearing none, we would need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Madam Chair, there's a gentleman identified as Paul Gerard who has his hand up, so I'm not sure if he has a
Oh.
question or.
I'm so sorry about that. Mr. Gerard, would you like to unmute yourself?
I am unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, do you have a question or a comment?
Is this Class 2 license in addition to the class, I'm assuming one's for used and one's for new?
Correct.
So we'll have additional cars there, or are they allotted only the same amount of vehicles that they have, that they're allowed now?
The number of cars.
In
will
other
not be
words, I
changing.
guess Class 1, they were, I know because it got extended by a little bit. So they were able to have say 500 cars on a lot. Is this going to allow them to have 1,000 cars on a lot? Or is that the amount of vehicles on a lot, is that capped already?
Number of cars will not be changing. It is capped. And that was approved by the town when they did the site plans. Because every parking space has to be accounted for, and in the approval process with the town, the Class 2 is merely an additional license. Nothing else is really changing.
So you're only allowed a certain amount of cars still,
Yes,
and whether they're new or old, they all add up.
that is correct.
Okay. The only thing I'd ask while you're here is, can we stop using the car alarms to find your vehicles? Because we hear this all day long. We set the alarms off so that we can find the vehicle, and it's annoying, quite frankly.
I will have to have a conversation with the management at that location. It is incredibly against company policy to do that ever. I am
but
on
they
that
do it all the
site
time.
4 to 5 times a week, as that's not where my
fine.
personal office is, and that has never happened to my being there. Whether or not it does happen, I cannot personally address, but I can assure you, when I leave the meeting this evening, I will be talking to the store's general manager and addressing that, because that is not a neighborly thing to do and not a practice that is allowed in our company.
Okay, and who's the manager there?
Daniel Haig.
What was the last name?
Haig, Haigh.
High. Okay. And if I hear this, can I go see him and say enough?
Go right ahead. I welcome you to do that. Daniel is usually 100% on board those things. He can miss something, and if he's not in the building that day, but he has again, other
This,
staff.
this is every day. This is every day. This isn't once in a while,
Okay.
which was my concern with the more vehicles. Am I going to hear these horns, sirens every 15, 20 minutes? You know, it's home for me. It's a business for you.
And you should be very comfortable living at your home. That's not supposed to be happening. And again, the number of cars will not be changing. And I will do my very best. I can even give you my direct phone number if you like.
I
And
would.
if you have a problem, you can call me personally, and I will assure you that myself and the Patricks will have that fixed.
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
No problem. It's 774-272-4368. My name is JD or John Doherty Dixon.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem, sir. Anytime.
Okay, so we would just need a roll call vote to close the hearing. Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter. Mr. Carpenter, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. The dreaded, I forgot to unmute. Yes.
That's okay. The chair is a yes as well.
Make a motion that we approve the license provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening,
You
everyone.
too. We have a second public hearing for Blue Line Motors. Is there a representative here? Great. We would need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
And the chair is a yes as well. Is there anybody here for public comment for this license? Oh, great. Would you ladies like to come up or would to the podium separately? Together?
Want to go through the project that I first?
Oh, yes, sorry. Could you just tell us what this license is for?
Yes, my name's Herb Campbell, and the license for a Class 2 motor license.
Okay. Is it an existing license or is it a new license?
A new license.
Okay. Would you ladies like to come up for public comment? Could you just give your name and your address, please?
Maureen Dubois, 15 and 19 Southbridge Street.
Judy Jazz, 5 Willis Street.
Great. So please.
So I went to the planning board meeting when he was given approval for this, and my concern was the lack of parking that's there now as it is. We have bylaws and regulations regarding the number of parking spots for vehicles. There's an existing business in that same location. There's an electrical business in there. On any given day, he has 6 to 8 pickup trucks that are parked out there. So they started doing all of this before even going to the planning board or selectmen or getting any of the proper permitting that they need. They repaved the parking lot. They took out a big chunk of the front lawn and put stone in there, which is where they were originally said they were going to put their cars. That was an objection because the traffic in that situation, that whole corner is a very dangerous corner. They then reduced it to 2 vehicles. They said they were going to move the dumpster. They the plot plan that they had laid out was not even accurate at all. So I don't know where they're going to put another 2 cars plus an employee, because they also have a house there with 2 tenants. So they're supposed to have 4 spaces for the tenants. They're supposed to have a parking spot for every one of the employees that leave their vehicles there for the electrical business. I don't know where they're going to put any additional vehicles. The planning board told them that where they have the stone, that they're not allowed to park cars there. They're parking cars on there. There was a car on there tonight as we came by, parked on the stone. Where they were going to put their snow and move the dumpster, I just don't know. That corner and the traffic down there is so bad right now, it's ridiculous. I've been meaning to come before you people to talk about the whole situation over there at Polar, which is totally out of control. And now you want to put a used car lot right on that same very corner. I will be back here at another time to talk about the Polar situation because, like I said, completely out of control, and nobody has any idea the nonsense that goes on over there. I just don't know where they're going to put these vehicles, and what's to stop him 6 months from now to going from 2 vehicles to 10.
Do you have any comments, sir?
Most of these questions were addressed at the planning board. We gave a parking lot diagram where all the parking spaces would be. They were all compliant to the town's length and width. I am not currently operating at the location. I have no vehicles there. There are vehicles there from the employees. The parking lot was recently paved. They have not striped it, which was as a result of us not sure of what we were doing with the parking spaces that I would need. We originally applied for a 4-car license, and there were some concerns by the neighbor, and we reduced it to a 2-car license. As far as the traffic problem, I don't know what I could say other than that we're going to put 2 cars for sale on the lot. I don't see how that could create a traffic problem on Southbridge Street. We're trying to comply with everything that the town is asking for, and as I said, it's all been repaved, and there was a section that we would like to have used to put the cars on, and then there was an issue of paving it because it extended the property, so we cease and desisted that. It's something we will address in the future, and they apparently would need a study to determine the water runoff and where it would go. It's approximately 400 square feet, a 20 by 20 area. That would be addressed down the road, and obviously we'd go in front of the planning board and make sure everything was compliant. And if we got the permission, that would be great. But for right now, it's just basically used as a warehouse for the electrical company. And there is a 2-family there, and there are a few cars. But once we stripe the parking lot, it will regulate itself as far as where vehicles would be able to park. So if there's only 13 spaces, there's only going to be 13 vehicles. I don't know how else to address it other than that.
Thank you. Do you have any additional comments?
Judy Jazz. I wasn't able to go to the planning board meeting, so thank you for catching me up with that. But I did get the diagram that he's speaking to. Excuse me. It was very rudimentary and inaccurate in terms of distance and where the buildings are in juxtaposition to the cars and so on and so forth. Several years ago, we did a traffic study on that corner because the bank wanted to put in a building and drive in and out onto our street from that corner. And it was found to be extremely dangerous and a busy intersection. And they made the bank close off that corner, but build it so that the fire truck can get in there. And that's the only vehicle that's supposed to be able to get in there at that. It's a blind corner. Willis comes here, Elmwood goes around, and up here you have to make an L turn just to make a right turn to go up Elmwood. And he is at the right bottom, opposite the L turn. People ride up the side. There was a motorcycle accident that my husband was involved in because a car came up the side and was in an accident. So I've been there over 30 years. We want our neighborhood to stay reasonably quiet. We don't want a three-ring circus on the corner lot there. And you know Auburn lots are very small. The electrical business has been there for years. No problem with the original one. This is a whole different electrical company that's in there now. And they used to have a lawyer up on top. And they rented to families. How much do you want to have going on one Auburn lot? I have to go through hoops just to put an addition on mine. We're in wetlands areas. We just put up a duplex on that corner. It's insane that you're even asking this. I can't imagine why you need to sell cars on a lot that's full of everything else. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody online that has any comments, public comments?
As I had indicated originally to the planning board, when I said we originally started with a 4-car license and we reduced it to 2, I don't think 2 is an unreasonable number. And as I explained to the planning board and to the woman, I apologize, I don't remember your name. But as I explained to her, the majority of the sales of the car are going to be done online. I'm going to have a couple of cars. I will advertise them on Auto Trader. I'm not anticipating to operate a car lot per se where I'm going to get an influx of people. I'm only going to be presenting maybe 1 or 2 cars. Obviously, 2 is the most that I could present. And at times, it'll probably be only 1. I'm retired. I'm looking for something to augment my income and to pass some time, to be honest. And my son owns the lot. He owns the property. They're trying to, upgrade the property. They resurface the whole lot at a considerable expense. There is a condition that could satisfy the complaint of here, I believe. The planning board is requiring me to have the lot striped and approved. Obviously, I can't do that. All I'm trying to do is move forward with the license so that I can put it in motion. But the final plan approval from the zoning board, they will have to see it when it's striped. If they disagree with that, we will comply with whatever the whatever the planning board suggests. But I can't speculate to say that, I can do anything more than that.
Thank you for that. Do you have another comment? Sure. Could you please state your name?
Al Rafferty, Paul Street here in Auburn. I just want to make a general comment. There seems to be a pattern emergent tonight. In 3 cases, you've got businesses that are operating and disturbing neighbors. And if code enforcement doesn't happen to be driving by and doesn't see it, it's not happening because your testimony doesn't count for anything because code enforcement has to see it happening or it doesn't exist. So my general observation is what's going on. Auburn is very pro-business. You're attracting businesses here. And as a result, you're going to have businesses going up against neighbors and disturbing their peace and quiet. And it's the duty of the selectmen and the town to make sure that they're not being bothered. But what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, is the town manager and code enforcement, because of the silence of the selectmen, really isn't doing their job. And I got to tell you something. These 3 cases tonight, the voters are going to hear about it in the next election. And God forbid if you're running for election, because I'm going to put this out to the public to show what you folks are not doing. And that's just observing these 3 cases tonight. It's ridiculous what's going on. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do select board members have any questions or comments?
Just one final comment I'd like to add. We have already assured the planning board, we are doing no repairs to any vehicles. There will be no repairs, no oil changes, no detailing, nothing mechanical will take place on the property relative to Blue Line Motors.
Thank you.
Basic for show.
Thank you for that. Seeing no,
Can I just have
Certainly,
one
yeah.
question? I just want to confirm what the gentleman said. So the gentleman said that the condition of the planning board was that the planning board would see the final striping and approve it, but it looks, just for clarification purposes, it looks like the planning board's final is that the proposed striping for parking will be reviewed by the DPW before final painting to ensure compliance with the approved plan. So it will be DPW staff that will be looking at that.
I apologize for that error. It was.
just wanna make sure
the
everyone's on the same
DPW. He referred me to a woman, I don't recall her name right now, but they will come and inspect. And if they have any concerns, they will either allow or disallow or rearrange or whatever it might be, and we will comply with whatever the DPW requests. So
Okay, question. So are you building an office there too?
there'll be an office on the second floor. There's an office space that I will use, but there will be no new construction. It's existing.
So no new space? You can
No
use
new
what's there.
construction, nothing. It's
And
just-
I see that your parking spaces, and 4 parking spaces to display. So is that your limit? You can only have 4 vehicles there?
It'll be 2. We reduced it. The original application was for 4. Due to some concerns, we agreed to reduce it to 2. And we're quite satisfied with that. It would be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair to the town manager, do we have to amend this application? Because it does say 4. Do we have to just have to note in the minutes that we're approving for 2?
I would note it in the minutes, but I'm sure the decision of the planning board reflects the 2.
I did submit an amended application for the 2 at some point. I don't know if I have that, though.
Will these cars be displayed on Elmwood or Southbridge Street?
They will be displayed almost to the back of the lot on Elmwood Street. They won't be out in front on the Southbridge Street side. That's where we were anticipating to put them originally, and then the concerns were that we didn't have the opportunity to do the drainage study for the drainage and everything. So we're just going to put 2 spots on the side. If you go up Elmwood Street, it'll be on the left-hand side on the building.
And advertising for it will be online, or are you going to be posting signage on that lot as well?
The vehicle would have a for sale sign on it. We're not going to erect any, a sign. We're not going to put up any signage, like a pole sign or anything like that. It'll be just a shingle on the door where the office is that indicates Blue Line Motors. But once again, I don't expect to interfere with any traffic flow of any kind.
you can certainly come up and make another public comment.
That was the problem. People trying to park on Elmwood Street on a blind turn. Can't have it. We can't have it. It's not fair to us.
On the street, ma'am, the parking.
Cars that will see for sale signs on cars and no one looking to see, oh, that car might be for sale. I'm going to pull over here. What do you think's going to happen? We live there. You don't.
I appreciate that. But I honestly don't believe that 2 vehicles for sale there will create such a nuisance that would disrupt anybody.
Well, you haven't been around there long enough. That's part of your problem, is you haven't been around there long enough. That's the first thing. Second of all, you're now saying, because now your story keeps changing, every time we come forward, you come forward with something else. There's 2 pickup trucks that are parked in exactly where you're now stating that you're going to park these vehicles for sale. There are 2 pickup trucks that are employee trucks from the electrical business, that are parked in those very spots every day. Every day, there's between 6 and 8 pickup trucks parked on that property that belong to the employees of the electrical company. And then you have tenants, and now you want to bring in, you're saying just 2, but it's just 2 vehicles for sale. You're going to occupy an office. That means you're going to have your vehicle there. That's an additional 3 vehicles on top of the already 6 to 8 plus spots for the tenants as well. There's not enough land space there. Do the math. Do the math. That's what I said at the planning board. Do the math. You can't fit that many vehicles there. And now you're going to have spots for customers that are going to see these 2 vehicles parked there for sale. And I promise you what's going to happen. Cars are going to come by, whether they come down Elmwood or down Southbridge Street. They're going to spot a for sale sign on those vehicles. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to pull right over. They're not going to whip up into your parking lot because your parking lot is going to be full. Trust me, I know. My husband sold every truck he ever owned, pulled it out on the front lawn, and I can promise you, 10 out of 10 vehicles will not pull in the driveway. They will pull over to the side of the road, and they will stop, and they will leave their car out there, and they will come, and they will look at the vehicle. They'll start questioning somebody. They'll start talking. In the meantime, that vehicle is out there on the road. That's a really bad corner, and you people have not been there long enough to know what you're up against. And for you to sit there and say, there's no traffic, all you need to do is look across the street. Like I said, I'll be back here again to talk to this board about the nonsense that goes on over there, because it's gotten to the point it's a public safety issue over there now. So you haven't been around long enough. And you keep changing your tune as to, now you're going to move the dumpster over here. Oh, now you're going to pile the snow over there. There are runoff issues down there. There are flooding issues down there. Ask Deep, ask her. We have that stream that goes through there. The whole area gets flooded all the time.
I can appreciate your concerns. All I can tell you is that I'm trying to do the best I can. And
I understand that, but my other concern is, so you need to understand the history of that building to begin with. The owner that owned that building to begin with, all he went and he got approved for was to extend that little part of the garage that's on the back. That's what he got approved for from this town, was just to extend it the same size. Look at the size of that building. The foundation was poured, the framing went up, it was 3 stories high, and it was twice the size that it had been approved for. And then the whole neighborhood went nuts and complained to the town and said, what's with this? They couldn't do anything to make him make it now smaller, and to meet the plans, because the foundation was already poured. The only thing they did is they made him drop it 1 story, so now it's 2 stories instead of 3. So that's the issue.
Obviously, they were done at some point.
Right, and that's the concern of all the neighbors, because we've been through this with businesses. We understand it's a highway business, but what's to stop you from now today saying, oh, we're only going to have 2 cars, and then 6 months or a year from now, like even now, when you're not supposed to be parking those cars on the stone, I've seen trucks parked on that stone more than once now since you started this whole process.
I'm not parking anything there.
Well, then, like I said, you've got another business in there, so now there's 2 of you going at it.
As I said, I believe all those issues were addressed at the planning board. I really have nothing else to submit, and I just would rely on your discretion to determine what you'd like to do.
Through the chair. So it sounds like there's multiple businesses, and we're hearing that there's not enough parking currently. If we were to approve a business license that adds to that problem, how is it enforceable?
It's kind of a unique situation. I would have to consult with the building commissioner to see what impacts and how that affects the license itself.
And I'm hearing at least 3 separate businesses on this one lot. Is that No?
No, that's not accurate. There was an attorney on the second floor that he's vacated the premises. That's basically used for a warehouse for the electrical supply, and the parking lot is sufficient to supply what we need. That's why we went to the planning board, and they approved it. They approved the parking lot plan. So I can appreciate their concerns, but I believe the planning board looked at the plans and approved them because there is sufficient space. The parking lot's mapped out. They reviewed the plans. The only thing that is got to take place is the striping. I can't put stripes down now with the snow, but we've satisfied all the requirements for what we need, and there's ample space. Whether somebody's opinion is different from mine, I can appreciate that. But the fact that the plan was submitted and reviewed and accepted.
The DPW signed off on their plan already?
So it was reviewed by DCG and they didn't raise any of the parking issue that was being raised tonight.
All right, no, and it's not this board's decision on that. I just want to make sure if we're looking to approve a license that increases an already existing bad condition, I mean, how is that? I'd like to know what enforcement is available. So based on what the planning board approved, I just want to verify that we're not going to add to an existing problem.
The planning board approval caps the amount of spaces
That's
that
correct.
this business can use. If it exceeds that in any way, shape, or form, there's an enforceable aspect as a result of that.
Thank you.
And we fully intend to comply with the spaces.
Through the chair, or to Mr. Kazanovich, how many spaces are allocated for the electric company? I'm assuming that to run their business, they have to have a certain amount allocated to them.
I do not have an answer for you, but certainly we can check that out.
And wouldn't parking spaces have to be designated for that, the property, residential property, right?
Yes.
And
What is the zoning in that area? It's all zoned commercial?
It's a
Business.
highway
Highway
business.
business, all right. And would it ever be possible to put up signs that said no parking on Elmwood Street or on Southbridge Street?
I would have to consult the DPW director in terms of making that recommendation. It may be permissible, but I just don't know if there are restrictions.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the public or anybody online? Oh, okay. Seeing none, I would need a motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
No.
You would like to keep the hearing open?
Close it.
okay.
Go ahead, sorry.
So you are a yes to close the hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
No.
Do you have any questions that you would like to ask during the public hearing? This is a vote to close the hearing.
I understand. I think just based on what other board members have said, that there are considerable concerns being raised as to whether this property is appropriate. And there are questions, at least from what I'm hearing from fellow members, about how we can mitigate the impact potentially. So I'm not in favor of closing the hearing until we chase those down.
Okay.
Can we ask the applicant if he would like to continue this to have further discussions, or if he'd like us to close it and vote on it? I just want to ask for the chair, so she can ask.
If the applicant is willing, you can continue the meeting till your next meeting or until such time those questions are answered. But certainly the applicant asked the board to take a position tonight.
I believe we've supplied ample information and documentation through the planning board, through the process. I don't know what else I could submit or what else I could do other than what I've done. And I only want to reiterate, it's two vehicles to be offered for display. And if there are two there, that's the maximum.
So,
And the plan for the parking lot is adequate for the tenants, for the business, and for my use. And it's all been looked at and documented, and I really see no reason to try to further supply any other information, because I don't really think there is anything I can do.
Perhaps the information we're looking for would be from the highway department or the planning board. We can look at what spaces were allocated for the electrical business, for the residents and the tenants, and maybe we can see about signs that say no parking on the side.
I would think that information was available when it went before the planning board.
Was, and also, whatever is there for spaces, we will comply.
So I just want to confirm that you would like us to take a position tonight on your application.
I would, because it's
Okay.
been rather a long process.
Sure. So the chair is a yes on closing the hearing. We would need a motion for a vote, to vote on the license. Is there a motion? Seeing no motion, perhaps we could continue this hearing until we can get some more information. I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right. Now, will this,
I think because the meeting is closed, we would have to bring it in as a new item, another hearing, which would have to be advertised, unless there's
Okay.
a motion to undo what you just voted on to close it. Vote to reopen it and then continue it till the next.
Considering the questions, I'll make a motion to reopen the public hearing on this issue.
Is there a second?
Second,
Through the roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanagh,
yes.
Mr. Chambers,
yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes as well.
Since this is reopened, in order to not waste this gentleman's time, again, can we just explain each member for town administration what we'd be looking for at the next public hearing? Because it sounds like we're not looking for information from the petitioner, we're looking for information from the staff. So what I would like to know, and this is probably shared by some other members based on comments, is a report from DPW, whether they have reviewed and have signed off on that pavement marking plan, as well as whether parking is currently allowed on Elmwood, and if it is, what would be needed to, for this board to make a motion to make it no parking anytime. Certainly improve the safety, whether this business moves in there or not. I do live in that neighborhood. As well as I imagine we may want a statement from the planning department relative to the board's discussion on parking allocation on that private lot, and whether it meets the needs of both businesses as well as the residential.
for a clarification
more
for
thing.
myself, if I supplied this council with the parking lot plan that was submitted to the planning board, I could be more than happy to do that. But do I have to wait now for another public hearing, or is it just an informational? Do I have to come back on the agenda in February?
Can we get the information in 2 weeks? Our next meeting?
Certainly, we can make the request.
Yeah.
I would like to think we would have the information in order that this matter could be before the board at your next January meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not expected to try to open anyway right now. But I would like to try to make it move forward because I do have issues that I have to get for a license with the registry and everything takes time. And I appreciate your help. So I can provide you those plans or you can get them from the planning board, whichever you choose. I'd be more than happy to make copies and bring them to the clerk's office or somewhere here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Carpenter had another thing he wanted to add to the list.
Yes, I did. In that the neighbors are indicating that a neighboring business across the way is potentially a cause of conflict, can we request from the police department any accident data or any concerns from the police department as to this intersection? That roadway is, as the neighbors said, the geography is a little interesting above this particular parcel. So I would just be interested to hear from the police department any heightened or any sort of accident data they have. I know Polar is very active over there, but I have not heard anything that this has been a high accident area. So that's my request in addition to what Mr. Crane has already shared.
I have one other question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It was a rather lengthy process to get the registered mail return receipt requested. Do I need to do that again for the next hearing? Again?
I believe
No,
any
it's a continuation.
hearing
It's a continuation of a
requires
hearing. It's not
notification to the abutters
needing to
once again,
re-notify.
so-
There's no need to re-notify the abutters. You've done that. You've satisfied the requirement.
So hold on, Mr. Carpenter, because the answer you just provided is different from what the town manager just provided.
So I know as it related to the poll hearings,
Right.
there was,
I had made that request that we notify the abutters again out of a courtesy in order for them.
so just to be consistent, I don't know if you want to follow that or you want to deviate from that as it relates to this item.
So, well, I understand the expense and the concern. I think the courtesy to the neighbors goes a long way in terms of notifying them when issues are on our agenda. And I would make that request of every public hearing we have that's continued. But that is just my personal opinion.
Okay, if that's the board's-
And that is different than the abutter or the applicant submitting that. That was the town doing that, the office staff doing that. Am I incorrect in that, Madam Chair? We did not request that
to
the
town manager.
applicant re-notify. That's what my comments are related to, not in conflict with the managers. It's
I think
if-
Mr. Carpenter is correct. I think the office staff notified the abutters.
Yes, that was my request last time.
That was not what happened in this case.
No, your original one has to be done by yourself.
Right.
Any continuance, we request that staff provide the notification. not
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have to go through that process again. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mr.
so
Crane
much.
is making that as a
Continue.
motion, Madam Chair. I would second
We had
the
a
motion
motion
that
to
we
reopen.
ask,
Was there a motion to
that
continue?
we ask that the office staff notify abutters.
Okay, so I'm going to make a
Thank you.
motion to continue this to our next available meeting with the request by Mr. Carpenter to notify the abutters by town staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So this will be continued to our next meeting. Our next public hearing is the Coco's Tropical Ice. Would you like to come up? Could you give your name and just what the application is for?
Yes, my name is Richard Coburn. The application is for a particular and indoor entertainment license.
Okay. Is there anybody here for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? Seeing none,
We need to open.
Yeah, need to open.
yeah, oh, sorry.
Make a motion to open
Thank
the
you.
public hearing.
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers, Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So I'm going to go through, is there anyone here for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? Seeing none, do board members have any comments or questions?
Do you want to go?
Thank you. Can you describe the entertainment?
Primarily going to be music and television. That'll be playing either TV shows and or movies.
So I just want to say that I'm very happy that Coco's is staying around. My family was very upset that it was going to close. I do have one question, though. It says you're going to sell tropical ice and soft serve ice cream. Are you going to sell hard ice cream as well?
For you gentlemen, I will certainly plan
Thank
on
you.
doing so, yes.
You just got my vote.
Appreciate it.
That was easy.
Are there any other
Coffee
questions?
and ice cream.
So the music aspect, are you looking for live entertainment music or just?
No, sir, yeah, just
Okay.
something streaming most likely.
That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Great. Are there any additional questions?
Madam Chair, I just have a procedural question. Were these advertised, because these are two separate licenses, do we need to have two separate motions to open the hearing? So that would be through you to the town manager.
I don't believe so. I think the hearing can address both of those, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were on solid ground because they are two different licenses.
Okay,
And
so
I did not see I didn't see two notices, publication, so, and I don't want to, belabor the point. I'm satisfied with the manager's comment. I just wasn't sure, so that's why I asked.
Mr. Carpenter, I can tell you that both of these were advertised together, identifying the one hearing, so I think we're covered. I think we're okay.
Thank you.
seeing no other questions or comments, we would need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well.
Make a motion that we approve the license provided that all applicable requirements of the state, town, and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said licenses are subject to all conditions stated upon them. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render them null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Enthusiastic, yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Thank you so much. Have a great
Enjoy your
day.
evening.
Our next two public hearings, we got notification from National Grid that they will not be able to attend today because of the storm. Do we need to have a motion to continue them, or can we just put them to the next meeting?
I would suggest make a motion to continue to your next
Okay.
meeting.
On that first one,
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the petition National Grid pole location on 10 Albert Street.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers. Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
And the chair is a yes as well.
Make a motion that we continue the public hearing on the petition for National Grid for the installation of conduit on Albert Street Extension.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Okay, so moving on. Oh, I think we were going to move something up.
Madam Chair, there are 3 items. As you can see, we have 3 employees left in the crowd, so I would ask that the board consider taking up item 6C first, followed by Darlene, you're the transient license, right? 5A and then item under town manager 6B.
I'll make that motion.
Is there, through a roll call vote, Mr. Corain,
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers, Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So we're going to move to town manager. Item 6C.
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, I am happy to announce that our staff assistant Danielle Chamberlain Roberts has been awarded second place for the submittal of our annual report as determined by MMA. And we are so proud of her. She has done some major changes to our annual town report, and it's been recognized statewide. Danielle was a little disappointed that she wasn't able to claim the top prize and is already doing some research to find out how we can better our report. So we are all proud of you, Danielle. That is huge. That is a nice accomplishment, and it really puts the town in a good position. Her accomplishments and that award is going to be recognized at the MMA conference. So I just wanted to recognize her before the board tonight and let her know that we are all very proud of her.
How many towns, is this for all the towns in the state that do reports?
So all municipalities, 351, can submit. I don't know how many were submitted, but I know that there are communities that submit on an annual basis. So kudos to Danielle.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you for all your
Yeah.
hard work.
That's wonderful.
Well, I guess you leave a little room for improvement, so that's a good thing. Yeah, there you go.
So
No.
Danielle has already done some research online and looked at the content and the detail of the #1 winner. So she already has some creative ideas on how she can improve and modify her second place finish. So
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
I can tell you that our assistant town manager was instrumental in convincing her to submit. So thank you, Dory, for suggesting that to Danielle. I think you recognize her talents and her accomplishments as well.
That's wonderful. So next, we're going to move to Select Board General Item, the transient 5A, the transient vendor license. Is there anyone here, or is Rich Cosenza here, or is he available online?
Madam Chair, not that we can see.
I just have a question. Do we require him to be here for this? Have we in the past required people to be here for this?
I think on the first time, we typically like to see them,
I think
and then the renewals.
that certainly sounds right. Oh, Darlene Coyle is here. Could you?
Hi, good evening. So for this transient vendor, Rich Cosenza has been in business for years here in Auburn. And I think in the past, he did do the transient vendor. And I think there is the local transient vendor, and then there's also a state transient vendor. So I think he may have had the state one, so this one may have just been overlooked. So we just wanted to get him back on track and be able to do the local. He has gone through the permitting process with our department and done successful inspection as in years past. So just wanted to let you know the Board of Health has no objection to this.
Great, thank you for that. So seeing that this is not his initial and he's had a state one, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Second.
Okay, through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Great. And now we are moving back down to town manager item B, the sewer connection fees.
Madam Chair, I have Nicholas Schwartz, our sewer superintendent and assistant DPW director, here to explain to you an action that was taken by the Board of Sewer Commissioners. They have the authority to set rates as well as review fees in accordance with the Acts of 708 passed in 1963. So with that, I asked Nick to put together, because I know has been some recent discussion on various social media on recent sewer connection fee increases. And I asked Nick to put something together for the board and to at least bridge that action that was taken by the sewer commissioners. So with that, Nick?
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Board. So, as Ed mentioned, due to some public interest in this, we thought it would be a good idea to bring this to the Board's attention, make sure everybody understands what the Board of Sewer Commissioners is authorized to do and has done in this case. At their last Board of Sewer Commissioners meeting, the sewer commissioners voted to adopt some changes to our sewer regulations that we had been reviewing and working on for a number of months. Those changes including taking out the sort of hard-coded dollar figure for sewer connection fees out of the regulations and indicating that we would be posting those to our website and putting them up for review each year, so that we didn't have to go through a cumbersome process each time we wanted to increase or change sewer connection fees. So the board voted on those regulation changes, and then subsequently we reviewed and voted on the sewer connection fees themselves. I guess I provided a memo to this board. I don't know if you had an opportunity to review that. I don't want to kind of belabor the point here, but essentially, the sewer connection fees were $6 per design gallon of flow. So if a house is connecting in, we look at the Title V of, okay, basically it's based off of number of bedrooms, how much flow that house is going to contribute to the sewer system, and then we charge a fee for that connection. So by Mass Title V, a house could contribute 110 gallons of flow per day per bedroom. So if you're looking at a residential house, you can say, okay, $6 per gallon of flow, it's $660 per bedroom. The board voted to increase that to $18, from $6 to $18 per gallon of flow. So it's 3 times the previous amount. I do want to give a little bit of background so the board understands where we came to that number. Previously, I believe it was maybe 10 or 12 years ago, the Board of Sewer Commissioners adopted a fee as part of our regulations to address inflow and infiltration into the sewer system. It's something that all towns are addressing now, and we're no different. That was a $22 per gallon of design flow, and it was only applicable for developments of 4 or more separate residential units. It is unclear exactly what happened after that point, after it was adopted, but it was never applied. Nobody was ever actually being charged that. Based off of the research I've been able to do, it seems like it was probably either a combination of the legal aspect of charging a specific fee for a specific purpose and only charging it to some connections and not others, so not being equitable, and also sort of complicated accounting that would need to be done because you have to set up separate accounts that are only used for certain things, and they need to be collected into those accounts separately. So it was never charged, it was never applied, nobody was being charged this amount, and so the sewer department for years has not been collecting these fees that were in our regulations that would help us work on these projects, very expensive capital projects, to eliminate inflow and infiltration. So as part of the regulation changes, we have removed that fee entirely. It's no longer part of our regulations, but that sort of rolls into this increasing of the sewer connection fee for all new connections, not just certain connections. This is partly to address the need for sewer capital projects that are looming on the horizon. We've started working on our sewer system evaluation study program that's mandated by Mass DEP. After the first year of that program, we've already identified over $3 million worth of capital projects that need to be done as soon as we are able to do them. That sewer system evaluation looked at 10% of our sewer system. We're supposed to do that annually, but there's no way we can sustainably add millions of dollars worth of projects to our budget each year. So right now we're working through how we are going to address the ones that have already been identified. But the fact of the matter is they will continue to be identified. We have an aging sewer system. It was built in the 70s. Minimal maintenance and work has needed to be done, of course, but it is going to start becoming something that we will need to address as our system continues to age. So this was a way to raise some of those funds without having to impact our sewer rate payers. We did raise sewer rates this year to address our operating budget and our capital budget, but continuing to raise sewer rates is not something that we're interested in doing or want to do other than what we need to do. So this is a way for us to generate additional revenue without impacting our current residents who are currently connected to the sewer system. So I guess outside of that, I'm happy to entertain any questions or discussion that the board wants to ask me about that.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions?
I just have a couple questions. So this new fee increase is for new connections. So these will be new units coming online that need to connect into the sewer?
That's correct. Not necessarily new units. It could be existing houses, but that are not currently connected.
Okay. So new into the system?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Not currently connected into the sewer system. That is right.
And I just have a question, either through yourself or through the town, to the town manager. When the Board of Sewer Commissioners takes a vote on fees, do they hold a public hearing ahead of time to notify the public and provide opportunity for input or public comment? Do we know?
I'll turn to Nick. Well, certainly their meetings are posted with an agenda.
Yeah, that's the extent of what we do. I guess there's no additional public hearings.
And there's no additional notification to the public?
The only notification is the
social media or something along that lines?
No, there is not. Not outside of the posting the agenda for the meetings and the meetings themselves.
Question, what percentage of the town does not have sewers, is not connected?
Is not connected. I don't have the exact number, but I want to say we've looked at that and it's been around 80 to 85% is connected to sewer. So the remainder not being connected to sewer.
Thank you. And how many, for 2023, how many new connections were made?
In 2023, I believe we identified 80 new connections that were made during that time. And some of those numbers can be skewed if we get a large development. So that was when we had 80 completed sewer connections. For example, like the 40B project over on Albert Street, I think there's something like 300 connections involved in that, but it depends on when they connect each building in. So some of them might come this year, some of them might come next year. So it's, it's, yeah.
Madam Chair, Nick, is that fee recognized at the time they are permitted or when they actually tie in?
So the fee is when they submit for a sewer permit. So when they apply for their permit is when, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood the question.
In other words, the 325 units up on the west side of town that's currently under construction.
Yep.
Is that fee recognized at the time the project is permitted or when?
Oh, like when we collect the fee?
Yeah.
It's when they connect in. So, for example, the project on Albert Street, it's 12 large apartment buildings. When they are going to connect each building, in that case, we collect the fee for each building. So we're collecting those fees as they go. In most cases, it's a single building, and we collect it. But when they do their permit. But because of the large cost of that project, we said, okay, when you're connecting each building, we have an approved permit, but it's not fully approved until they say, okay, we're connecting in, we'll sign off on the permit, and we'll give the fee for that one. That was sort of a unique situation because it was such a large development.
Thank you.
I think from that question, that new development will be paying the new rate or the rate in which they filed?
Nope. So they've already filed for their sewer permits previously. So that particular development is paying the rate that they had already. They already submitted sewer permits. So we would apply the fee that was in place at the time the sewer permits were applied for. What we don't want to do is have someone start a project and then all of a sudden your fees go up. So the intent for this is that each year, towards the fall, the Board of Sewer Commissioners will review the current fees and vote on them. Those will be posted to our website on a schedule of fees. And the upcoming year's schedule of fees will be posted in advance after the vote was taken, so that people can know that in advance.
Do you imagine you're changing these on a fiscal year basis or a calendar year basis?
The fees are active as of January 1st of each year. The schedule of fees. And that was something that was adopted in the new sewer regulation, or as the changes to the sewer regulations, we had indicated that all fees would be as of the January 1st of each year.
Just to confirm, there's been no change. Well, there actually has been a change in the sewer rate charged.
That change was earlier in the year. That was made at their June meeting.
Okay.
For the bills that went out.
The July 1 that.
Correct.
Okay.
So is this considered a service or is this I know you can charge for that service, but this is a connection fee. You guys aren't actually doing the connection, right? So when they connect, they're paying for that connection. This is for the right to connect to it?
Yes, I guess that's how you would think of it.
Now, is there a statutory limit, you can't, and I'm just concerned, if the fees continue to go up, is there an unlimited amount that you can do? Because I know most of our fees that we approve through our fee schedule have to be for reasonable expected cost to the town. Mm-hmm. And I know you just said, millions of dollars of expected work, but is there a rate that we're looking to achieve?
There's not a specific number. So what we did was we looked at all of the neighboring towns and said, okay, what is everybody charging? What are we charging? This has been an ongoing process since at least 2020 with the Board of Sewer Commissioners, when my predecessor and our current DPW director, Joanna, noticed that, hey, there's these fees we're not charging. And then it sort of became this kind of investigation as to why and what we can do about it and that kind of thing. So we looked at a number of neighboring towns around us, and what we found was that our sewer connection fees were far, far below any of the towns around us. Even some of the members of the board working as consulting engineers said, it's not a secret to developers that, Auburn is very, the fees are far less as far as these kind of connections. So the goal, or at least, it's not my authority to set the fees, it's the Board of Sewer Commissioners, but my hope would that we would be continue to be low compared to our neighboring communities, and that is what we still are with the rates that we've set. But we want to make sure we're not, losing out on potential revenue that's desperately needed for the work to maintain the system.
And I believe you had mentioned this. So the rate went up significantly this time because it didn't go up when it should have previously.
Yeah, the rates. I don't know when exactly the rate was put into the regulations the way it was, but it's likely been decades that it's been the same rate.
And future, and again, I know you're not the arbiter of that. The future, you wouldn't see 3 times. You wouldn't see triple the rate in the future. Like
No,
next year.
the purpose of raising it as much as it was raised at this time was to bring us back to a level of our peers, and sort of bring us to where we expected to be when they initially adopted the II regulations 12 years ago. That's to get us back to a point where we should have been to begin with. Going forward, I think the intent is it's not to do anything like that. It's kind of to look at the rates and see if any modest adjustments are needed, look at them in conjunction with the fees, and the goal has always been to have the lowest impact to the residents of the town, and additionally, we don't want to hamper development either. We don't want people all of a sudden to say, oh, we can't go to Auburn because the sewer fees are too high. But kind of to look at those in conjunction with the rates to say, okay, what mix makes sense as far as what we need is, for our revenue. Well, that's a long way of saying no, we're not planning on tripling the rates every year or anything like that.
And again, the money goes, it goes directly into a sewer enterprise fund for maintaining the system. It's not a money grab where it's a slush fund type thing, right? It goes into a separate account.
No, from an accounting perspective, you have to recognize that you have to cover your annual expenses relative to the operating budget. But in recognition of long-term maintenance and capital improvements and replacement, you can account for something above and beyond that provides future dollars to meet those capital improvements.
Thank you.
Just to clarify that, so this is not going into the general fund. This is going into a sewer enterprise fund, which was be specifically spent on maintaining and upgrading the sewer system. It's not paying for a fire station or anything along that lines that people like to dream up.
No, I can dream up some sewer things, but that's about it.
Please don't.
Madam Chair,
you don't know me
I
that
just have
well.
a question.
Certainly, Dan, go ahead.
So just everybody's asked great questions, so I've enjoyed that. But when do the sewer commissioners meet and where? And if the manager could just give a brief description of how residents through the website can sign up for notifications so that it's out there, because there is a functionality on our website where people can get notified of agendas and certain things. So that's, I guess, a question and a request.
So I think the notification process, we've tried to streamline that and improve the outreach aspect by making some enhancements with IT and the town clerk that allows us to load that on the calendar of events. And it puts it, I believe, on the homepage of our website. In terms of the frequency of the meetings, I'll let Nick answer that. I think it all depends. I don't know if they meet on a monthly basis typically, and if there's no items, then the meeting may be canceled to the following month.
Yeah, so the Board of Sewer Commissioners does not have a regular meeting schedule. At each meeting, they vote on when the next meeting is going to be held, and it's typically a tentative date, and then we confirm ahead of time, is everybody available? In general, they meet approximately every 1 to 2 months. It's been about 2 months is probably closer to how often they meet. And like I said, we kind of vote on that at each meeting, when the next meeting is going to be.
Do they have a set time if they don't have a set date, and where do they meet?
They meet at the DPW. It is, or it has at least historically been Thursdays at 4:30. on whatever, whenever they choose to meet. That is at the discretion of the board. I will say that one of the current board members just resigned, and a new one has been or will be soon appointed. And there's another board member who's likely going to be resigning, and we're looking for a replacement as well. So I can't speak to the makeup of the new board if they are going to choose to change the day or time of the week. I think the Thursdays at 4:30 was at some point in the past decided that it worked out for everybody, but I don't want to guarantee that it would stay that way.
No, and they can certainly contact the office. Residents can contact the office for any further information. And there is a way to get notifications to your inbox as well on the website. But just as a general sense, 4:30 for most people who are working, I don't know how much you have of a public presence at your meetings, but when you are talking about regulations or fees, it would be, nice if the meeting was set after, most people's day is done so that they can actually attend and share any input that they might have. That's just a general comment, not anything else. Thank you.
I'm happy to share that with the board.
Just to Mr. Carpenter's point, the Notify Me page on auburnma.gov does not actually include the sewer, Board of Sewer Commissioners to sign up for. So we just want to make sure that we have all active committees on that list.
And are the meetings televised?
They are not.
So they're not recorded either?
No, during COVID, they were being held hybrid, but the board voted to go back to in-person meetings.
Does anybody else have any questions? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you very much. And as always, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I'm going to go back in order. Communications, we have none. So we will be moving on to 5. That was number 4. So if you're following along, we're moving to number 5B, the special town meeting warrant.
Before the board takes any action on this, this item, I know the chief is on remotely. He knew there were going to be a couple of items relative to the consideration for the purchase of land and how that relates to potentially the approval for a new fire headquarters. That being said, I put together for the board's benefit, wasn't part of the original packet, I prepared it today, an option that identifies the cost of us considering purchasing the land under free cash versus an option of funding that through bond proceeds. So as you can see, I had our financial advisor prepare a debt schedule about a couple of weeks ago relative to the amount of money we're borrowing strictly for the acquisition cost. And at a level debt service, at our rating right now, the interest rate on that borrowing would be about 5.50% for a 10-year period. So in addition to the principal amount, we would be paying a little over $1 million of interest at 5.5%. In addition, as a result of purchasing this property, there'll be no relocation expenses for fire. And I know Steve, I believe, presented to the board. If not, I think he has publicly. The fire chief has presented the relocation cost as a result of renting portable Connex boxes, or that really serves as a garage and a working area during the period of construction. And I believe there was a community he received this number from, and Steve, was it Cambridge or some community? Can you help me out there? Acton?
That's correct. That's correct. The city of Cambridge just installed 4 of those temporary garages, and they were $1 million a piece. They're somewhat custom built. They come outfitted with the electrical, plumbing, those kind of things. So the 4 bays that Cambridge just installed was a total of $4 million. And that was not counting the infrastructure to actually connect to water and sewer and electrical.
So those would be a temporary cost for relocating West Side Fire and EMS for a period of time that the building would be constructed on the West Street site. So there'd be a savings of $4 million. That money would have to be borrowed, and I estimated at $4 million, the interest would be roughly $1 million for that same 10-year bond issue. We did not provide an estimate that would relocate the schools, although I know that was an item of concern when we had that joint meeting at the high school. I don't have a handle on that number. I don't know what that would cost. But certainly, there'd be a cost under option B, not under option A. The demolition cost is going to be provided through free cash. That estimate is pegged at 175 to 275, all depending on the remediation aspect of anything that is contained within the building. I can tell you we just engaged Ty and Bond to do that pre-demo analysis, so we would have a firm number or a ballpark number when we go to town meeting. So we're not using any more free cash than we have to. We're hoping to have that estimate in time for our town meeting. There's title insurance that goes along with both options as a result of acquiring the property. And we would have to do a environmental assessment or a phase one. There was one that was provided to us in 2013. The use of that business hasn't changed. We honestly believe that there are no additional issues. But in order for us to borrow money for the construction of fire headquarters, we're going to have to do that anyway. Those reports are only good for about a period of 2 years. So when you wrap all of these costs together, by funding this through a one-time appropriation of free cash, we're looking at roughly $4.3 million. That number is going to float north or south, all depending on Ty and Bond's assessment, versus a total cost if we were to build on West Street under a scenario where we would borrow the funds of roughly $10,350,000. It's a total savings of roughly a little over $6 million by appropriating from free cash and acquiring the property outright. So I thought that would be helpful in terms of your consideration for the warrant article. While I have Steve, if I could just mention the schedule under 6D, events leading up to town meeting, we have provided to you a series of meetings beginning this Wednesday, going for 3 consecutive Wednesdays, ending on the 24th. There's an open house on West Street for our citizens to attend, our residents, if they have any questions, or our town meeting members. We're also proposing to hold a pre-town meeting in this room on Wednesday, January 22nd, to inform our town meeting members of the warrant article they would be acting on Tuesday, January 30th. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any of the chief, he's available for questioning as well.
Do board members have any questions?
So, is that pre-town meeting going to be Wednesday, January 24th?
Yes, that is correct.
So I have an email that says the 24th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It should be the 24th.
Let me just, I don't know which one's a typo. That would be the 24th, yes.
Typo is the
No,
Wednesday.
you know what? I believe that's going to be
Monday, the 22nd,
before your meeting.
Okay.
Good catch, thank you. That's 5 to 6:30, and then we would have the board meeting at 6:30.
And will all town meeting members be notified?
They will be.
And will the public at large in Auburn be notified? Through our social media or the website?
Once again, we're posting this on our social media, on our calendar of events, and our town meeting members are going to be notified, and the meetings will be posted.
Thank you.
Do we know what information will be provided to the town meeting members prior to the meeting?
So as information tightens up a little more as a result of what we learned from Ty and Bond, I think we'll be able to better refine whatever number. Right now, there is no number provided in the warrant article because that's still uncertain. I can tell you it's not going to be above it's not going to be above like 4.4 million, but hopefully the information we receive will be able to nail down a number for demolition.
So I get my concern is that the town meeting members are going to want to know more information about a potential build. I know this article is for the purchase, but I don't know if everyone can separate that. So I didn't know if there was additional information that could be shared with them to help that, or if everything would be kept completely separate off the table and deal with it at the meeting when everyone.
I think our residents need to know, as well as our town meeting members, there'll be a supplemental action required to continue this project. So there's the acquisition of the property, and there will be a annual election, a ballot vote, that will ask the voters to opine on whether or not they want a new fire headquarters at a cost of X.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can just ask a question. I had run into the chief at the swearing in last week, and he mentioned that there would be a test fit available, and I was wondering if that could be shared with board members and town meeting members in advance of the meeting, if that's at all feasible.
Through the chair.
Certainly.
Yes, absolutely. We met with our architects, Tecton, last Friday at 1:30, had a very productive meeting. So we will be able to share the test fit with the board prior to the meeting. The test fit will also be available for the pre-town meeting. We'll have it in time for that. And just so the board knows, I'm working on a full presentation just to kind of recap with town meeting members kind of how we got here. I know that there's often a lot of conversation about the site location and the property, and have we looked at this property and have we looked at that property? So I'm going to kind of start with just a small historical review on the sites we've already looked at, why those are not available, why they're not feasible. The vote to move towards a fire headquarters instead of a public safety building. So I do anticipate that we will be providing town meeting members, both at the pre and the regular town meeting. We will be providing them with a substantial amount of information for them to make their decision based on the work over the last 5 or 6 years. And we'll probably be able to shed a little bit of light on what the plan is for a possible build. Although I think it's premature at the town meeting to float a number until the architects have done their work. We certainly know what direction we're heading in, and we don't have a problem sharing that with the town meeting.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions? So you would be looking on a vote on this warrant article? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to recommend Article 2 on the special town meeting warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So moving along to 5C, there are no proclamations or recognitions. So we're down to 5D. There are some gift acceptances in in our packages. some for fire and police.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we accept with gratitude. I know that there was one for over $1,000, and I'm just paging through, and typically we express our gratitude and have a letter signed by yourself to the donor. So that would be my motion, and I believe the cost was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,230. I'm just scrolling feverishly.
Yep, there's a
See if
second
I'm
one
right.
too.
Correct. So I believe Mr. Carpenter was referring to the Auburn Firefighters Association for $1,380. And then there is one for Cornerstone Bank in the amount of $2,300. So I would just modify that motion that we prepare.
I would include that in my motion, that we express our gratitude and that a letter of gratitude be prepared for the chair's signature for the 1380 and the 2300
Second.
gift to the fire department account.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So there was also a police.
There were 3 additional for the fire department.
Oops, sorry.
One in the amount of $200 from Paul Samoy. Sorry if I butchered that name. One from True Pest Control for $50, and one from Donna Bacon in the amount of $25.
Oh, and one final one from Shaw's.
Oh, and then, and then an $18 donation from Shaw's as well. Sorry about that.
Is that in the form of a motion? I would second it if it is.
Make a motion that we accept with gratitude.
So there's a motion and a second. Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes as well. And so is there a motion for the police department gifts?
Make a motion that we accept with gratitude a donation from Joseph Gaudette in the amount of $200 to the police department.
Is there a second?
Second.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So we're moving along to town manager items. Number 6A is, and I'm going to turn that over to you.
Madam Chair, just a quick notification to the board. I just wanted the board to know that in addition to our Chapter 90 allocation of roughly $606,000, we're also receiving this year, a share of additional funds for our roadway program. So this is coming from the surtax generated on taxable income over $1 million. That amount to Auburn is $313,025. I hope this amount is committed and sticks, because we were just notified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts today of a series of cuts totaling $400 million. It's called 9C cuts. We don't know if that's going to impact any of our grant funding or or this notification that's before you tonight. So I just received this afternoon. The Commonwealth of Mass has to address a 6-month lag of state revenues. That's resulted right now in a $725 million shortfall for the current fiscal year. So there could be additional cuts coming, but this is the first series of cuts we have seen. We will try to seek and get more information as it may apply to any of our state earmarks or anything that's already been obligated up through this point. So there may be, I don't know, I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm just hoping that any funds that have been previously committed but not spent aren't clawed back by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you for that update. Do chair members have, or are there any questions?
Not a question.
Madam
just
Chair. Go ahead, Todd.
Just a statement that my understanding from a meeting I had today was that the Fair Share Act amendment money is not included because it's a special set aside for a dedicated tax fund that is not subject to the 9C clawback. However, we may want to hold on allocating this fund until we find out what is affected.
Mr. Carpenter, did you have a comment?
Just a clarification on 5B. I know we voted on a recommendation and maybe I just didn't hear it, but we do have to send it to council. Was that included in the motion? And I apologize for perhaps not hearing.
It wasn't. So should we amend the motion to say we recommend it pending review by council?
Well, we have to approve the warrant subject to final review according to what's written here. That's why I was just, the sound here isn't great. So that's why I just wanted to make sure. So I think it's a separate motion, but I'll leave that up to the manager to.
I would suggest, because the board already took action on the original request, that a second motion be made that the warrant be approved, your action approved subject to final review of town council.
Okay, so can I make a motion that we recommend Article 2 on the special town meeting warrant, subject to town council review?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well.
Can we go back to 6A?
Sure.
So I just want to, it's just reminded me, so I know you were working on the roadway plan, and has that been developed? Is that something that can be shared with us?
So, great question. I did have a conversation with the DPW director as to whether or not there is a current list that addresses the current allocation of 606 and a portion of this money, and that has not been developed yet. So that's in the making, and that should be presented to you in the coming months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think we are on item 7, tabled items. We have none. So item 8 are member items. So Mr. Carpenter, did you want to take it away?
I will. And I apologizing for loading up the bottom of the agenda with these items. Just as before I jump into that, I looked at, because I get notifications, it must be calendar notifications, but I do get sewer commissioners, and I got them, the last one was November. So there is an option for people to be notified if there's a meeting. At least there was when I signed up. So I just wanted to put that out there. So the first request, in our rules, we have the current agenda format. To my knowledge, I know I never voted on the agenda format, but we do have members of the public who may want to talk, and may not be abutters, but may want to talk on something that is not a public hearing. And currently, the only way that they can do that is through public comment. So I would just ask that we amend the policy or the agenda so that members of the public can comment, can choose whether they want to comment when the item comes up, whether it's a public hearing or it isn't, just so that we can get their feedback. And so that was, actually that's number 2, so I apologize, I'm taking them out of order. Item 1 would be to prioritize, as we have been doing, ahead of schedule, trying to organize the agenda so that if a member of the staff or the public have an item on our agenda, that they be taken first, that they be prioritized. So that was the second suggestion that I had and request for the board to vote that we change that so that the agenda follows that order to the extent possible. Obviously, things are going to happen where something comes up and it's not going to happen ahead of time. We can always address that as we do now. And the third request is again, in the policy book, we did set it initially as a board in the fall. It seems like, having gone through a couple of these, the spring event really captured a lot more attendance. I don't know why that is, so I was just wondering if the board would consider moving it from the fall, so amending the policy and changing it to spring.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions?
Just one observation is that the approved agenda format per the policy has public comment period twice appearing on our agenda, but I don't know if I've ever seen the agenda where it actually includes the second public comments towards the end of the agenda that's called for here. And that I know that Mr. Rafferty mentioned the Housing Authority, I believe, has the same setup as well, and took us to task for not having that setup. So regardless of whether we vote to change it or not, can we at least agree to put that back on the agenda, just so that we're consistent between the policy and our agenda setup?
Yes, I think yes. I set the agenda, so I certainly can have that re-added to the back of it.
Do you want my comments on everything, or just?
Do you want to, should we take them one by one? Is
Well-
that your only comment on the agenda?
Well, I mean,
Public comments?
I don't think, well, I don't think that requires a vote because it's already part of the policy.
Right.
I think it's just a clerical thing to take care of. In terms of 8A, I'm fully supportive of preemptively. I think the only thing we can honestly preemptively guess on is staff, when staff's going to appear. And I would certainly support preemptively putting that higher in the agenda as a courtesy to them. I think it will be difficult for us to assume or try to predict what issue the public is going to show up for or not, other than public hearings, which are statutorily mandated to have, public hearings and have them be set for an additional time. I mean, a good example is obviously the transient vendor license today, where we would have thought he was showing up, he didn't show up. If we move that to the head of the head of the agenda and he didn't show up, it kind of defeats the purpose. So I fully support amending it so that we preemptively change our agenda to put those issues where we know employees are going to show up in the beginning, and then for those members of the public, keep it on an as needed basis like we currently do right now.
So my only comment to that is we have to advertise public hearings and set them to be a certain.
Yeah, outside of
time.
public
So,
hearings,
okay.
I'm not saying public hearings, I'm saying in terms of the issues with respect to staff.
Certainly. And I think that is something that we have tried hard to.
I think it shows, and I think we try to do our best, and when we see people, then we have that conversation. So changing the format much more, I don't know how much better we're going to do it, and we're always going to have to move things around. So format change, if we know, and we can put them in there, I think as chairperson, you certainly can do that piece, but I don't know if we need to fully change the agenda with public comments, then the public hearings, and then from there, it's not going to adjust much.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it seems like the employee related issues always come under the town manager items. It appears
So-
the vast majority of the time.
May I
so-
suggest we set up a new category and call it departmental items or departmental matters? That would be different than the town manager. In
Right.
some cases, there may be some overlap, but I guess we can fold that in if it spills over into the manager's item as well?
So if we need a formal vote for discussion purposes, I would make a motion that we amend the select board agenda policy, section 1.700 subsection B, to insert a new heading for departmental items in between number 4, presentations / public hearings, and number 5, communications.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. So through a roll call vote, Mr. Corinne,
Aye.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. So I think that's a great idea.
If I could be heard on that, just
Sure.
as I think that's a great suggestion of the manager, and I think it's wonderful. If we don't want to change the format, then would the board be willing to state as a policy or as a statement in the agenda policy that we will move up agenda items where members of the public are present and it is known to the board that they wish to address us?
I don't think that's necessary. I mean, we do that right now. I mean, I think that takes some control away from the chair who controls the agenda. So I don't think we need to do that. We do it anyway. And we don't need to state it in the, in our rules.
I tend to agree. I like the current makeup, and I do think if a time comes where we need to change that, I'd be open to that discussion, but I think we're following that as a board currently, so I'm open to future changes if needed, but
Yeah, I mean, I share the opinion voiced by my two colleagues that I think it's covered under C, which is the board by a majority vote may change the order of the agenda item. I don't want to handcuff us into shall change it because there may be other things going on in that agenda that we don't want to move up that is pressing that we need or want to take first.
Thank you.
and again, I know this is something that current chair has allowed, and it's for the public comments to come as the articles are coming up. I do think maybe formalizing that, just again, it currently works, but I think anytime that it's directly related to the public, they should feel they have the forum, especially if people are coming in on a timeline. They may not be here for the public comment section. They might be strolling in late, and I think those items that are most critical to the public, they tend to pack the room, and people aren't comfortable necessarily filling that form out, but do want to have an ability to comment as things come up. So I'd like to see something, and again, I know we're currently practicing it, but I would like to see those items or maybe something on the agenda that says public comment before we get to select board comments.
So you're proposing adding a second blanket public comment section somewhere? I mean,
I think under each item that people come in for, we should open it up to them to have a discussion.
I'll be completely honest with you, I'm not in favor of that. I think we need to balance the efficiency of the meeting with the transparency and the public comment. I think we add the two public comment sections is a good start. But I think in order for our meetings to flow, sometimes the public comments become a back and forth and become somebody is challenging a statement by a board member or wants to be confrontational or wants to keep going or add a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, or seventh comment. I like the way it's set up now. I think our chair has been very judicious in terms of allowing public comment when it's appropriate and ending it when it's appropriate. And I'm not in favor of taking that authority away from her. So I, as a starting point, I like that we're going to re-add in the public comment at the end, but I'm not in favor of changing the agenda to allow public comment on every single issue. We'll be here till 2 a.m.
I guess I don't necessarily agree. First of all, the chair is an office, not a person. So it would apply to anyone who held that office, which is neither here nor there. But I'm certainly not here to argue for it. I personally feel that we need to be more open and we need to demonstrate to the public that we do want to hear their opinions. And the reality is our meetings are very efficient because the public doesn't show up. And I don't think that that's necessarily, I'm not attributing that to any sort of cause on behalf of the board or anything else, because I share my colleague's opinion. The chair has done an outstanding job. She has been very open to public comment, and I think she's, been very fair and very good about it. But I do think, that's why I brought it up, but we do need to be open to hearing the public comment. We could certainly say, as has been suggested on many committees that I've served on, that you get 2 shots at the podium and that's it. So you can manage the back and forth, which, if it's being properly run, which it has been, the chair has done a phenomenal job managing all of our meetings. You can keep the back and forth down, but you could create within the policy that a limitation, much like we limit on public comment, that there's only 2 minutes allowed for each person who comes before us. So I think it's, the reason I want it is because I feel that we need to be more open to the public, but I also respect what the other board members have had to say. So it's entirely up to anyone. I would ask for a vote on it one way or the other, and we can move on from there as the chair deems.
Madam Chair, can I just so town administration can have some guidance? In terms of what's already in place now, public comment, certainly it's structured on the front end. Is there an expectation that anyone who's seeking to comment on the back end has to sign up and provide a reason for comment, or is it open-ended? Are they limited to 3 minutes on the back end like they are on the front end? Is it? I don't think that.
My belief is, or I would think that the public comment periods are 2 separate public comment periods where we can certainly limit the amount of time they're allocated. I don't think if you talk in the first one that you're not allowed to talk in the second one. I think you can talk in both. And I know we can limit their time based on a recent decision. I don't think we can censor their content. So whether it's on the issue or whatever they want to talk about, they get to talk about for those 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever we set. But I don't think, talking during one rules you out from talking at the other.
Right. Does there need to be initially a comment by the chair saying there'd be an opportunity for a second public comment at the end of the meeting with a sign-up sheet up back where at any point anyone can come up and sign, state their reason for comment like they do on the first one. And I don't know if that's part of the policy where they have to state why they're asking to be recognized. But I just want to know if we're going to be consistent with the front end.
No, I would support a sign-in sheet that's in the back that is open throughout the meeting, and right before we're going to get to that section, someone can go get it, bring it up, and go.
So, sorry, through the chair. So your comment before we get to that section. So you're open to having comments after each section.
No. So currently in the agenda format, there's a section of public comments after the Pledge of Allegiance, and there's supposed to be a section for public comment after the select board member items. That second section has not appeared on the agenda. We've agreed that we're going to be putting that back. So that's the second section that I'm speaking about.
I agree. I think having that second public comment at the end and allowing them to comment on within the time frame that we set on what they would like to speak about would be incredibly helpful for anybody who sat through the meeting and wanted to make a comment on something we discussed during that time period. I think that would be very helpful. I don't know. And not that I would want to stop anybody from making any sort of comment. I don't know if it's needed after every item. I think it's going to add a lot of time. In particular, during election season, if someone were running, I could see them wanting to comment after each item that we took up. And I don't know that that's necessary.
And I think
Yeah, if I can just mention the reason, the overriding reason I want it to be on any agenda item is we make decisions, we have very few public hearings, and we have very little public comment. However, when we have things on there, and the chair is correct, there could be some candidate who might wish to grandstand, but I have been on the board for 10 years and I've seen plenty of those of us who sit in those seats grandstand when they're up for re-election. So it's certainly not just someone who may choose to challenge an existing board, run for an existing open board seat. But I'm not going to belabor the point. I feel that it's a positive for the residents to be able to talk to us before we make a decision. Them sharing with us after the fact whether they thought we did well or we didn't do well, to me, is not helpful. And I honestly don't think in the past we've gotten a huge outpouring of members of the public sharing their point of view, and I would like to see that change. So that's my underlying reason. But that's all I wish to say on it.
So I think we can probably alleviate some of those concerns, and obviously I don't want to stop the public from voicing their concerns. I think that's why we're here, and I've probably been the reason we've had lots of late night meetings. But what I would say is we can limit their amount of time to speak, and I'm certainly open to them having that ability at, just before Section 5 of the general items to let us know their concerns. But I do think the back and forth, and sometimes when people come up, I think it's great, and I think the current chair does a great job of doing that, probably better than I could do, allowing them to speak. But I would like to see it in the agenda where we can allow for more people, because you might not be the chair the next time. So happy that we have a second comment section. I would love for it to be a problem where we're filling the room and they want to keep us here late, but I think we all signed up to at least listen to them. So I think we should be providing them the opportunities, whether it's through the policy or the board or through the chair's actions, till it becomes a problem. I think I'm okay with that second comment section, and we'll hopefully fill the room.
So I know, Mr. Carpenter, you were looking for a vote. Do any of the board members have a motion?
I would make a motion that we add to the agenda policy that members of the public are allowed to comment similar to the time frame that they do under the separate public comment section of the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane?
No.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
No.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a no as well. So I know you had, it seems like we will stick with the initial public comment, and then there will be a second public comment at the end for the time being.
Sounds good. The last item I had was the flag policy, and that was
Oh, wait, sorry, I'm sorry. I think your last, I know you have the flag policy on here as well, but we're going to go back to 8C, the volunteer appreciation event. Moving it
yes.
from
Let
spring
me
to
make a
fall.
motion that we
missed that.
change the policy
Yes.
from a date or a time in the fall to a time in the spring.
Do board members have any questions?
I'll second the motion,
I'm
if that was a motion.
It was. I said it at the beginning. Come on.
That's why I'm seconding it. And I fully support this change. It's been what's put in practice as far as I know. It seems to work well. And I think it probably gets more people springtime is a good time to come out after being enclosed in wintertime. People are more eager to come out, see people, mingle, and meet, less sick and meet fellow board members and other volunteers. So I fully support this.
I just have a quick question for the town manager regarding this. The staff that prepare this event, is there a reason that it was set to the fall initially, like staff timing, versus the spring, or is there?
I believe the last time, I want to say there was a conflict with the fall one that necessitated a suggestion for the spring. The spring worked out well. It is a lot of work. It is an active and busy time of year. We're preparing for town meeting. But certainly we can make sure that it fits in with the board's intent, so.
Great. So there has been a motion and a second through a roll call vote. Mr. Corain?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well, so we can look forward to those in spring. And now the flag policy discussion.
Well, before we move off of this particular issue, I have been kind of the board liaison to that project. We have a whole new board. I don't know if anybody else would like to take that on. Obviously, you don't have to say it now, but just because I've done it for a few years and Mr. Laliberte, Selectman Laliberte helped me, and Mr. Holstrom as well helped me through part of those in the past. So if somebody else would like to take responsibility for it, I'm happy to step back as well.
What committee?
It isn't a committee. It's just we liaise with the manager and put together the agenda and all that good stuff.
For the employee recognition event?
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteer recognition.
Volunteer recognition, yeah, okay. Thank you, just wanted to clarify that.
So anyways, just putting it out there in case anybody else would like to take on that responsibility. And last but not least, the flag policy, Madam Chair, that was really, as the board knows from the last meeting, I'm a firm believer that all five of us should have an opportunity to vote on a policy. I'm not a big fan of voting when members are not present on policies because that is a board decision, and I feel strongly that we should have all members present to vote on it. I don't have anything to add. The item that the manager presented to us fell well within the lines, and I've supported it because there was some urgency to it, but I wanted to have a confirmation vote, which I did request, which I don't see on the agenda. So we probably would have to carry it over just so that all five of us could confirm that vote, that is our wish for the policy.
Thank you for that. I actually was able to read through the policy and agree with it as well. So if we would like to have a vote, we can certainly do that. The confirmation vote, we can certainly do that now. However, I don't see any issues with it, and I know you guys have taken a vote already, so I don't need that. I don't know that I need my name to be on that vote as well. I mean, it clearly passed, so I appreciate you bringing it back to me again for the opportunity. So
Through the chair, a confirmation vote would have to be listed on the agenda though, right? If we're going to take another vote.
Well, actually, all of these items did not reflect a vote tonight. So as it pertains to the first three, there was no indication that a vote was going to take place. So I didn't know what the board's, I didn't know what Selectman Carpenter's intent was as he listed these, but certainly I think a discussion would trigger what I thought would be a future vote after he explained the intent of why he put the agenda item on. Given that the board voted that, it's no problem. So if you wanted to take a reaffirm the vote tonight, it's going to be consistent with the first three items that you've already acted on.
I almost feel like then we did it wrong if it wasn't listed on there, right? Because we have to list anytime we're going to take a vote.
It was listed on there. Every single one of those three was listed, and my email the other day
they're all listed.
stated.
It's
discussion and
request the
possible
select board vote, request the select board vote.
Mhm.
Request the select board vote. So those were.
So I guess
Okay,
this is the only
sorry.
one that does not.
Was in my email, Madam Chair, to request a potential vote.
Okay.
But in that it is not there, I would suggest that we table it to the next meeting and have it stated that we would vote to confirm, unless other board members feel that that is inappropriate.
I'm fine with that, provided that and through you, Madam Chair, to the town manager, the select board approved this December 11th, 2023. It is legal, it's in effect, it's our flag policy. In case there's any challenges or subsequent requests that come in from certain entities, this policy is in effect. This gives you the authority to take any action you need, regardless of us scheduling a vote in the future, correct?
That is correct. It is a legal vote. It is recognized. I think we underscored the importance of the adoption of that the night that the chair wasn't here. Although I think we indicated at any time we could always amend the policy or modify it to reflect any other needs that, especially the chair may have been concerned with.
So based on the chair's comments, can we ask Mr. Carpenter if he needs a vote or if he's okay leaving the policy as is, understanding his position that he doesn't typically like to vote on that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mr. Carpenter, do you need a confirmation vote? It's certainly,
You know, I'm
And
a process
approved.
person, Madam Chair, and to me, we're a 5-member board, and I sat through a whole year of people complaining about a 4-member board. So we have a 5-member board. So for my just general feeling, when we adopt policies, I would like all 5 members to have a recorded vote on those policies. So yes, I would appreciate it, but if you choose not to do that, I'm okay with that as well.
I personally don't think it's necessary. It was a legal vote. I'm happy to vote on it again. I don't know that I would vote any differently than any of the chair members voted. So if you'd like, we can put it on as a confirmation vote. But I don't think it will change the adopted date by the town or the board.
No, I'm not concerned about the adopted date. I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm concerned about members having an opportunity. And again, just like Mr. Chambers said, we're not always going to be here. So you can look at all the minutes of all the boards that I've served on. I've been very consistent that I support when we adopt policies that every member vote on it, get an opportunity to vote on it. So yes, I would appreciate it if we could do that, a confirmation vote. And it's not in any way to change it because I'm happy and will vote for it again.
Okay. Could we put that on the next meeting, a confirmation vote?
If the board so desires, absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any other member comments? Questions? Okay, so we're going to move along to 9. There are minutes from 2 meetings in your packet. Are there any changes? Seeing none, I will accept them as read. We would just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Through a roll call vote, Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Thank you.